Hey NaturePeeps! Today we are talking about the American bison as an endangered species, this time on NatureGuyX46 Presents. Today's video may be slightly longer than usual, and I will not apologize for that. Let's get into the subject. In North America, we have two subspecies of American bison, the wood bison and the plains bison. And I think most people know of the plains bison, but today we're looking at both. Now, North America used to be home to millions of these animals. I mean, herds that were so big that it took 6 days for the herd to move so that people could get past. People who lived amongst the bison developed strong bonds with the animal because they legitimately depended on the animal. By the 1800s, the animal was almost wiped off the face of the planet. And a lot of it was not for good reasons. East of the Mississippi, things were even worse because we were moving west, and so by the time we made it to the Mississippi, we had already done damage to the bison that were living east of the Mississippi. What brought this animal to the edge of extinction? Hunting and the loss of habitat. We were killing the bison to basically put pressure on the Native Americans, to our indigenous people, I guess I should say. And ranchers were killing them, some of them, because competition for their animals. So by 1889, there were only a few hundred of these animals scattered across the plains. To be precise, there were only 512 of these animals, and that is a far cry from the 10 plus million that once called this country home. And maybe I'm a little bit bitter about that, but I am. I am bitter about that. Ranchers banded together, though, and they gathered up these animals in order to save the species. Sadly, some of them experimented, and they crossbred the bison with the cattle, which worked, by the way. Sadly, though, what those experiments did is they mixed bison DNA with cattle DNA, and so any bison that were produced that way, or any cattle bison that were produced, were a mixed breed, which was not good. You didn't have straight buffalo or straight bison, so to speak. We started to create herds in the 20th century, outside of like Yellowstone Park. Nowadays, the bison isn't necessarily in danger of extinction, but there is still a problem. There is a loss of genetic diversity. So, the bison used to migrate. They would move through the plains. And so a buffalo or bison, sorry I keep switching the name, doesn't really matter because you know what I'm talking about. the bison would intermingle within the herds. There would be exchange of maybe a male from this herd or a male from that herd, and you would get a mix of good genetics. Well, nowadays we have the cattle genes mixed in with our bison genes, and yeah, like I mentioned before, you're not getting pure bison. Nowadays, there are state-managed herds in several states. Even some of the Plains tribes have their own bison herds on their reservation. The national mammal for the United States is the bison. This animal was important because their grazing on the Great Plains actually shaped the Great Plains. They allowed other animals on the plains to survive. According to the World Wildlife Fund, their status is near threatened and their population sits at 45,000 animals. Still a far cry from that 1889 population. I found a different stat for the population that existed before white man came, and that was 30 to 60 million. So, yeah. It's believed that the bison in Yellowstone National Park here in the United States and the bison in Elk Island National Park in Canada may be free of cattle DNA. Now, the bison on indigenous land, and I think this is so awesome, is allowing the people that live on those reservations, our indigenous brothers and sisters, to renew their traditional ways while also restoring the economy that they once had that was focused on the bison. According to the IUCN Red Book, the American bison's population is stable, which is a good thing. Thanks for keeping it wild with me, Nature Peeps. See you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not. Give the video a thumbs up. Leave me a comment or a question. Remember to never give up and always keep learning. Lives are Tuesdays and Fridays at 7 p.m. and Saturdays at 6 p.m. See you in the next one.